Hey y'all, how's it going? So today we're going to be discussing how to do your LES. So for those of you who are not military or Department of Defense, your LES is your leave and earnings statement. So if you're not in one of these categories, this video won't be as applicable to you, but the information is still important. In my opinion, if you don't know how to read your pay stub, or in this case, your LES, it makes it very hard to budget properly and achieve your financial goals. So that's why I'm doing this video today. It's because I want to help all my service members out there understand how to read their LES so that they can make informed decisions for themselves in the future. So I'll go share my screen and we'll begin reviewing it. All right, so once again, this is going to be on how to read your LES, and here we go. Okay, so this is what your LES is going to look like. You have admin information at the top, a bunch of numbers in the middle, and a little more admin stuff, and some numbers at the bottom. So I'm going to break down each section so that you can get a better idea of where your money is coming from and what deductions are being made. So first, we're going to cover the admin section at the top. So you have your name, your social security number. It's just your last four of your social, your pay grade, your pay date, your years in service, ETS date, branch, the DSSN, and then your time period covered. So I blacked out some of the PII so I can keep that personal to me. So appreciate that. Grade is 01. So this, as you can see, this LES was January of 2022. So it's a little bit of an older one. The pay date, so that kind of determines your years of, or that pay date determines your years of service. So my official pay date is May 23rd, 2021. And at the time of this LES, I had 0 years in service. For officers, there's no ETS date. So that's why it's just a multiple 8 code in this one. And my current branch is Army. Now we're going to discuss the different categories, kind of seeing where your numbers come from. You have entitlements, deductions, allotments, and then finally a summary. So to kind of review is a little more in depth. So your entitlements, you have your base pay, your BAS, and your BAH. So your base pay comes from a table that the DoD puts out each year, and that's set by your pay grade. So your E2, E3, whatever, O1, O2, so on and so forth. It's also determined by your time in service. So obviously, the more years you have served in the military, the more you'll get paid as kind of incentive for staying in longer. Your BAS is your food allowance, and then your BAH is your housing allowance. Both those allotments will vary depending on where your locality is. My locality at the time of this LES was Fort Bliss, Texas. And then all that is summarized here at the very bottom right of this little table. Next, we're going to get into deductions. So you have your federal taxes, you have your Social Security and Medicare taxes, you have your SGLI, that's your life insurance policy. That's a term life policy offered by the DoD. And at the time of this, $25 was the max amount for the max amount of life insurance coverage. Now it's higher. It's $31 now for $500,000 in coverage. So if you're seeing that, that's why. And then you have your retirement contribution. So I contribute to a Roth TSP. I'll be releasing a video on the different retirement plans later on. So stay tuned for that in the future. And then finally, you have your mid-month pay deduction. Frankly, I don't know why they include that as a deduction. I find it confusing personally, but that's just how the DoD decides to do it. So that's kind of one of those is what it is situations. And then it summarizes all these in the bottom right of this block as well. Next is allotments. The best example I can come up with is I'm married now. I'm not single anymore, like this LES will show you. And my wife's TRICARE dental is included in allotments. It's also a deduction that you'll see in the summary column. So just miscellaneous things like that are there. Finally, the summary column, you have your total entitlements, total deductions, any allotments, and then you have your net amount here. So for reference, this is the paycheck you're going to get on the 15th of the month. So that's your first paycheck for the pay period. And then last but not least, we have our end of month payment. And this is your second paycheck, which again, it depends on your bank. Some banks will pay early, some banks will pay right on time. This will come at the end of the month or at the very latest at the very beginning of the next month. And then here we have your retirement plan type. So I'm in the blended type. Most people now, if you're getting in the Army brand new nowadays, you're definitely blended. I think the swap over time was between like 2016 and 2018. from the old retirement plan. So most people, by and large, are on the blended one now. All right, so next we have more numbers and some admin info. So this first line is your federal taxes. So you already saw above in the deductions what I'm getting deducted every month for federal taxes, and all this does is adds it up over a year period. So this is the wage period. So this would be your 1 month of deduction, or excuse me, 1 month of taxable wages. So this is the amount that the government decides, okay, they made this much in this month, and we will tax that amount. So your BAS and BH are not included, because you can see this wage period is less than my total allotments. So BAS and BH are not taxed. And this is my wage year to date. So obviously, if it was in February, March, April, so on, it would be higher. And then this is my married status. I was single at the time and no multiple jobs. If you are married and do have a Y in multiple jobs, the reason for that is to kind of help you with taxes. So what the government's doing is that they're going to assume that you're going to be making more if your spouse also works. So they might tax you a little bit more upfront. And obviously, if you're not making as much as they think you'll make, you'll get more of that in your refund at the end of the month or at the end of the year when you file your taxes. And then there's some more dependent information, and then total taxes year to date for federal income tax. Next one is your FICA taxes. So this includes Social Security and Medicare. So like your federal taxes, they include your wage period for both of them. So yeah, the wages year to date for both Medicare and Social Security. So once again, this is the total amount that the government is allowed to tax you on. Again, BS and BH don't count. So you can see my Social Security taxes and my Medicare taxes here. Next, we get into state taxes. So I'm in the state of Texas. That's my my state, and they don't do any income tax, so I don't pay any of that income tax at all. So next, we have some paid data. So my BAQ type, I'm single, not married. If you're married, it would show there. The VHA zip code, that's the zip code in which your BAH is based off of. And then they have a couple other different things here as well. Next is the retirement and leave blocks. I lumped them all together because they do relate, so that's why they're lumped together. So you have your traditional plan and Roth plan. So this first column, the base pay rate, is the percentage of your income that you contribute to your retirement plan. So as of January of 2022, I contributed 60% of my paycheck to my Roth retirement plan. I'll have a future video on the difference between a traditional and Roth retirement plan, not just military focused, it's for all retirement plans. That'll be coming out sometime in the future, so stay tuned for that as well. And then you kind of get into some of your specialty pay, your incentive pay, and bonus pay. So if you wanted to, let's say you got like jump pay or something like that, you could have that money directly go to your retirement plan instead of come to you and your paycheck. It just depends on your situation, what you want to do with your specialty incentive or bonus pay. Next, we have total contributions. So this is year-to-date contributions. So that's your total. It will be totaled up over the 12 months you get paid for the period. And then you can see year-to-date Roth. So that's what I contribute to. And then here would be the totals for which your agency, or in my case, the Army, contributes to as well. So this would look something, this would be your dollar amount. And then down here, your agency contributions, you have your auto contribution. So the DoD automatically contributes 1% of your income towards your retirement plan. And then in the match, they will match up to an additional 4% for a total of 5% total contribution. The only contingency to get that extra 4% is that you have to have this base pay rate. You have to have at least 5% of your total monthly income go into a retirement plan. Lastly, in this group, you have your leave balance. You have your before balance, earned balance, used, credit balance. This is the most important one. That's how many days of leave you have at the end of your pay period. And then, you have leave lost, leave paid, used, lose, so on and so forth. Last but not least, we have the remarks column. In this column, you have some admin information. And yeah, this is basically all admin information. You have total sum of entitlements again and total sum of deductions again. There's different things like in this category, including like how do you get your W-2 statements, as you can see there in the middle left. There's also, oh, here's a good one. Your SGLI coverage amount is $400,000. That was at the time of this LES. And then my BH based on without dependents, and then the zip code in which my BH is applicable, which is for Fort Bliss, Texas. Finally, here on the right-hand side, we have some different changes. So the reason why you're seeing all these changes on my LES is because I had PCS from Fort Leonard Wood to Fort Bliss. And obviously, when you change duty assignment, your locality changes, your pay rates change. You can see my BH, BS have all changed. It starts my PCS, ends my PCS to adjust for my leave balances. And then finally, here at the very bottom, it says Bank, Navy Federal Credit Union. That is where all my money gets deposited into at my money market, or not money market, excuse me, in my high yield checking account with Navy Fed. So, yeah, that's the end of that. So once again, this is how to read your LES. If you have any questions, leave them down below and I'll get to them as soon as possible. Like I said at the beginning of the video, if you don't know how to read your LES or pay stub, if you're not DOD or anything like that, it makes it very hard for you to financially plan for your future. And knowledge is power. So hopefully you learned something today. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. Send this to somebody you know, because understanding how to read your pay stub could be the difference between budgeting properly and being able to, net profit at the end of the month, or just get by at the end of the month so that you don't go into the red. Or by going into the red, that means spending more than you make. So yeah, again, if you have any questions, leave them down below, and I appreciate your time. You have a good one. Thanks.